The film begins in France during the height of World War II. After a brutal battle, the Nazi army manages to penetrate a district of Paris. A German soldier warns the civilians that those who shelter rebels will pay a heavy price. However, the general halts the witch hunt, ordering his men to regroup due to the enemy's proximity. Despite the colonel's insistence that they must teach the French a lesson, just before pulling the trigger, a woman steps out from the crowd and assures the general that they know nothing about the resistance. This sparks a tense exchange between the general and the colonel, but it ends abruptly when their enemies strike by surprise. Perhaps it was wrong to say enemies when it is only one man, a U.S. soldier who fights like an entire army during his retreat. The colonel bids him farewell, calling him Ryder, while revealing it is not the first time they've met face to face with grenades between them. The protagonist advances toward the Nazi camp, but a sudden bullet brings him down. I didn't see that coming. It appears what he experienced was only a dream, one that lasted too long. Yet when he awakens, he doesn't recognize where he is. While exploring the area, he finds a bag containing an odd mix of items: a wallet with no documents, a pistol with intricate engravings, and a set of keys that raise more questions than answers. When he approaches the motel receptionist, the man informs him that he registered under the name Ryder, the same name the colonel had called him in his dream. The newly christened Ryder finds himself on the outskirts of the city with a stunning motorcycle, one he soon realizes belongs to him, though its history remains a mystery. He begins exploring the unfamiliar streets of a city he's never known. Within this same city stands the headquarters of the Sanborn Group, led by Mr. Sanborn, an aging magnate rarely seen without his assistant, Jack. Strangely, both of them appeared in Ryder's dream, Sanborn as the general and Jack as the German soldier interrogating civilians. Speaking of that dream, the two are soon approached by Sauch, once known as the ruthless Colonel Such. Now, he presents himself as a celebrated architect interested in Sanborn's grand project, a massive, citywide reconstruction. It's Sanborn's life's work, yet lately, doubts have begun to creep in. The lower-class neighborhoods would suffer greatly. Sauch quickly dispels those doubts, reminding him that greatness demands sacrifice, that a place in history must be earned, even if it means destroying a few lives along the way. Meanwhile, Ryder crosses a street that triggers a sudden flashback, a memory of a little girl being kidnapped by a criminal gang. Snapping out of the vision, he steps into a small restaurant for breakfast and is stunned to see a familiar face, the Frenchwoman from his dream. Her name is Morgan. She works for her grandmother, Shell, a kind-hearted woman who welcomes Ryder warmly. Everything seems peaceful, until Jack and his men arrive to collect Sanborn's rent. Ryder watches closely, especially Jack, who decides to leave before things escalate further. Still haunted, Ryder asks Shell if she's heard anything about a kidnapped girl, but she knows nothing. Without another word, he leaves, mounts his motorcycle, and speeds away. His mind pulls him backward, not to World War II this time, but to ancient Rome. There, Sanborn appears as a senator influenced by Such, ordering the execution of Morgan and her daughter. Yet before the blades can strike, a gladiator, none other than Ryder himself, rises to defend them. Suddenly, Ryder is jolted back to the present as Jack and his men confront him, demanding to know who he really is. Ironically, Ryder was about to ask them the same thing before a brawl breaks out. Detective Timmons intervenes, dispersing Jack's crew. Though suspicious of Ryder, Shell and Morgan vouch for him and even offer him shelter. As they show him his new home, Morgan explains that Jack works for Sanborn, recently featured in People magazine under the title The Man with a Vision. According to her, that so-called vision is nothing but greed, squeezing every dollar from the locals under the guise of progress. As Ryder looks into Sanborn's face in a magazine photo, fragmented memories begin to stir. Who is this man? Why does he feel so familiar? These thoughts echo in his mind as he rides toward the Sanborn Group headquarters, a warrior once more, fighting not in the present but in the sands of ancient Rome, where he battles a legion of gladiators to protect Morgan and her daughter. Thanks to his heroism, the people demand forgiveness for the accused, and the senator reluctantly complies. Yet, Such persuades him to send his finest warrior, ensuring the spectacle continues. Ryder finds himself dueling Jack and his men in a fierce confrontation. Back in the present, Ryder notices Sauch leaving the building and realizes once again that he has appeared in his strange dreams. Later, in the restaurant, Ryder learns that Morgan is an assistant district attorney. Poverty has prevented her from fully practicing her craft. Their conversation is cut short when Morgan receives a message from Roger Hammond, the city's most influential counselor. Curious, Ryder asks Shelley about him. Morgan is part of Hammond's legal team, determined to block the magnate's schemes to reshape the city. As Shelley resumes her duties, Ryder's attention is drawn to a newspaper ad about a missing girl not far from Anbor and her accomplices. They have been scheming to manipulate Ho, a man with a flawless record, knowing he cannot be blackmailed. How do you break a man who already has everything by taking away what he loves most? His daughter. That night, Ryder receives an unexpected call from Sauk, who is aware of his strange dreams. He offers no explanation, only a warning: a game has begun. Suddenly, Ryder finds himself transported to the 15th century England inside a dimly lit tavern. The feudal Lord Sanborn, accompanied by his advisor Such, demands taxes from poor Morgan, who has already given all she possesses. During the tense exchange, a mysterious old woman appears before Sanborn, telling him he still has time to act righteously. Torn between her words and Such's counsel, Sanborn hesitates. In the present, Ryder arrives at Detective Timon's office seeking information about the missing girl. The detective informs him the case is already resolved. The girl had spent the night at a friend's house and simply forgot to call her mother. Ryder then notices a bulletin board filled with photos and articles about Sanborn. Timmons warns him that probing into Sanborn's affairs is dangerous. That's why he has been investigating in secret. He doesn't need outsiders like Ryder meddling. That night, while tending bar at the restaurant, Ryder is approached by Such. Setting aside his architect persona, he introduces himself as a motivational speaker. In an instant, Ryder sees him as the Nazi colonel, the Roman advisor, and the feudal lord's cunning counselor, the snake who has always whispered into Sanborn's ear. Such delivers this revelation and departs as casually as if nothing happened. Touching the cards Such left behind, Ryder is transported back to his memory of England, battling Jack and his henchmen once more to defend Morgan. Each fight escalates in intensity, more epic than the last. Only Shell's voice, calling him back to the present, snaps him out of his reverie, reminding him he has been lost in thought all along. The next day, Jack, acting under Such's orders, calls Ryder to offer him a position with the Sanborn Group. Sanborn, the magnate, is furious at Such's constant interference in his affairs. Calmly, Such tells him to watch the news. Hammond is now promising to defend the city against Sanborn's plans. Enraged, Sanborn vents his anger on the model of his project and gives his accomplices free rein to act however they see fit. Later, Ryder meets Jack about the supposed job, which turns out to be nothing more than intercepting Hammond's car. Ryder goes along with the plan, but on his way home, he is once again pulled into World War II, resuming the initial scene. General Saw orders his troops to withdraw. Colonel Such calls him a coward, but an enraged general shells an innocent family and immediately regrets his actions. Caught between dreams and reality, Ryder encounters Such, who explains that sometimes evil must triumph for good to survive. He urges Ryder to stop resisting the inevitable and go with the flow. As suddenly as he appeared, Such vanishes, leaving Ryder back in the restaurant. Ryder is greeted not by Shell, but by Morgan, whose granddaughter is covering poker night. Their moment is brief, interrupted by Detective Timon, who informs Ryder that after checking all records, there is no trace of him. Essentially, Ryder is a ghost. He prefers to avoid the subject, continuing his private time with Morgan. She notices his scars, the marks of their past lives, and while happy by his side, she can't help but wonder about his history. The next day, Ryder meets Shell, who points out something he hadn't noticed on Such's card. His name spelled backward means chaos in English. Meanwhile, Sanborn discovers a letter on his desk from another era, echoing the old woman in his dreams, Shell, who tells him, "It's never too late to do what is right." The words shake him and he finally realizes the error of his ways. Sanborn immediately orders his men to halt the plan to kidnap an innocent girl, but no one obeys. From the start, they had only followed chaos. Little Annie leaves school escorted by her father's guards. Along the way, their van is forced into an abandoned area where Such and his men, including Ryder, are waiting. Sanborn appears in a last attempt to stop the inevitable, but it's too late. Jack opens fire on him and his escorts, ignoring the consequences. Ryder returns fire, allowing Annie to escape. Jack recalls that they had faced each other like this before. From ancient Rome to World War II, fate has always set them against each other. Only one can prevail: Ryder. Next, he turns his attention to Such. Though Such has run out of bullets, he has one last trick for the Lord of Chaos. As the adrenaline fades, Ryder realizes he is gravely injured. Seconds later, Detective Timon appears alongside Shell and Morgan. Seeing his beloved, Ryder recalls that in his past lives, every time he fought for her, he ended up dying. And this time seems no different. In his agony, he glimpses Lord Chaos bidding him farewell. Fate smiles on him, granting a miraculous recovery, or so it seems. Ryder then sees himself being eulogized at his funeral. Officially, he is a ghost. Before resuming the fight against Chaos, Ryder glances one last time at Morgan. She turns toward him and smiles.